Woj, what is the thought process in the Bay Area with how to use this draft pick, especially if it goes number one?
Rachel, Golden State's GM Bob Myers tells me that wherever the Warriors land in this lottery, they're going to be aggressive in canvassing the league and using that pick as an asset in trade talks. Their mandate in Golden State is not to find, a transformational young player necessarily, but a player or players that are on the age of Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and their veteran players. They're trying to win more championships in the short term, and a high pick for them is going to be a pretty attractive allure to get out into that trade market.
I think around December, I made a video titled "How the Golden State Warriors Have Been Fooling Us." And yes, it was a little bit more aggressive than most of my videos because I don't typically come out and say a team is lying to us or a team is fooling us or a team is tricking us. But in this instance, it kind of seemed like the Golden State Warriors were kind of intentionally tanking. And my reasoning behind it was, well, you have Klay Thompson out for the entire year, you lose Kevin Durant in free agency, and then in the beginning of the season, D'Angelo Russell and Steph Curry weren't really getting along very well. So it's not really like you had anything to play for when Steph Curry injured his hand. Now, he did go down with a broken hand, and that's probably the most expensive and most valuable hand in all of sports, considering the fact that he has probably the greatest jump shot in NBA history. And if you disagree, let me know in the comment section down below who does. But based off of those premises, I said, okay, there is absolutely no purpose for the Warriors to actually go all in this year. There's no way that they could even come close to sniffing the NBA Finals if they had to compete with the likes of the Los Angeles Lakers, the Los Angeles Clippers, even the Houston Rockets. The duo of Steph Curry and D'Angelo Russell just weren't getting it done. They weren't really good. So they ended up doing something else. What's going on, guys? Your boy TheFlightMike here with another piece of NBA content. Guys, before we get to the video, please take a moment to smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm, subscribe, and turn on my notifications. I live stream on Twitch on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays at 9 p.m. Pacific time, and I am giving away multiple copies of NBA 2K21, the Legend Edition, on Twitter and Instagram. Oh, I also make TikToks as well. Now that we got all that out of the way, cue that intro. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? Today I'm making a part 3 to my Warriors saga because I feel like the trajectory of their season was so fascinating. Klay Thompson tears his ACL in last year's NBA Finals. That was 14 months ago, by the way. It's kind of crazy because we still haven't crowned an NBA champion at the time of this video. And on top of that, they lose Kevin Durant in free agency. So the Warriors were kind of in uncharted territory. And then obviously Steph Curry breaks his hand after they got off to a funky start, and by the time he comes back, the Warriors didn't really have much to play for other than the fact that they wanted to see how the trio of Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and the newly acquired Andrew Wiggins played together. Now, I always thought it would be like a cute little story if the Golden State Warriors somehow lucked into a top 3 pick in the NBA draft and they began nourishing that new upcoming talent and paired them with Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, and Steph Curry. And then eventually there would be the ceremonial handing of the torch to the next generation of Golden State Warriors players. That only works in NBA 2K My GM or NBA 2K My League. This isn't my league. In every single instance in NBA history, when a team had a top pick, except for the 1983 Los Angeles Lakers that decided to draft James Worthy with the #1 overall pick as opposed to trading it, whenever a team comes up with a top 3 pick and they're clearly a contending team, more often than not, they will package that pick with other assets to acquire a much greater player. Additional examples of this could go all the way back to 2014, where Andrew Wiggins was was placed in this exact same situation. The Cleveland Cavaliers drafted him with the #1 overall pick, and he was considered to be an extremely transcendent talent, but that didn't matter because the Cavaliers ended up packaging Andrew Wiggins with the year prior's #1 overall pick, Anthony Bennett, in order for them to get themselves help immediately in the form of Kevin Love, so Kyrie Irving and LeBron James could begin to chase a title. And I'm going to stand by this. At the time, and let me know in the comment section down below if you were one of these people, at the time, I absolutely decimated the Cavaliers for such a short-sighted move. I felt like they could have had a situation where Andrew Wiggins could have potentially been further developed by his affiliation with LeBron James, and then once LeBron James was on the outs, Andrew Wiggins would be able to carry the torch. But of course, back then I played a lot of NBA 2K. Even more recently, we saw the Los Angeles Lakers give up Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, Josh Hart, and a bunch of future first-round picks in order to acquire Anthony Davis to make the most out of LeBron James's twilight years in the NBA. But alongside those assets was also the #4 overall pick in last year's NBA draft that a lot of people tend to forget that the New Orleans Pelicans flipped to the Atlanta Hawks so they could draft DeAndre Hunter. My point being that this isn't exactly a brand new concept, and competing teams would much rather trade all of their assets for a proven star as opposed to grooming brand new talent and putting them alongside savvy veterans and already competing stars. An example of a team that did the absolute opposite that I personally found very, very fascinating was the Boston Celtics, because the Boston Celtics were in an era where they were able to swindle the Brooklyn Nets of 3 unprotected first-round picks. And to the ire of most Boston Celtics fans, the way they went about their rebuild was definitely a little bit different than most teams. Instead of supplementing Isaiah Thomas, Jay Crowder, and Al Horford with additional star power, they opted to make moves such as trading Isaiah Thomas and Jay Crowder for Kyrie Irving, drafting Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and trying to do their best to groom that talent and put them alongside players such as Al Horford to develop their talent in the present and hopefully not only rebuild now but also stay competitive now. Most Celtics fans were really upset about this. At the time, a lot of Celtic fans wanted to trade for Anthony Davis, they wanted to trade for Jimmy Butler, they wanted to trade for Paul George, and I don't really blame them. Hindsight's 2020, but it was really cool to see them attempt this. In this case, I think you all know where I'm going with this, man. I think you guys all understand where I'm going with this, and I haven't been this sure of something since the Anthony Davis to the Los Angeles Lakers trade. I'm talking about the Golden State Warriors are not going to use the #2 overall pick on James Wiseman, which, by the way, isn't that bad of a fallback option but if you think about it. Hell, I don't even think they're going to keep Andrew Wiggins past this year. I see them packaging James Wiseman and Andrew Wiggins to acquire a third star. Now, a lot of you guys might be wondering who that third star might be. It's not that hard to figure out, bro. It's really not. If you look at the state of the Milwaukee Bucks so far, and I know in a week from now this video may look a little funky because who knows where the Milwaukee Bucks are going to be in a week from now. They might be dominant as hell. But so far, they've been anything but dominant in the NBA. All that it's gonna take for the Golden State Warriors to potentially acquire a player of Giannis Antetokounmpo's talent is just him simply coming out and demanding a trade. There's no other team in the entire NBA that could offer the Milwaukee Bucks what the Golden State Warriors could offer them. And the only thing that I could consider completely ruining the trade is if the Milwaukee Bucks demanded Klay Thompson being included in it, which I don't really see it making much sense. I don't think Klay Thompson's worth his contract at all on any other team other than the Golden State Warriors. I don't think he'd be able to do what he does best if he wasn't in the Golden State Warriors system. Now, I could be wrong, but how could you really tell? So what I think is going to end up happening is, and here's the proposed trade, and let me know in the comment section if you think I'm crazy. I don't think I'm crazy. This could not happen, but I think it's pretty likely for it to happen if the Milwaukee Bucks don't make it to the NBA Finals, which is a pretty big freaking if you think about it. I see Giannis Antetokounmpo getting shipped from Milwaukee to the Golden State Warriors, and in return, the Warriors will send away Andrew Wiggins, the number 2 overall pick, and in similar fashion to what the Los Angeles Lakers did this past season, a boatload of future first-round picks that is probably going to screw them over 5 years from now. That's what I see happening potentially, because that way, by the time this year's top pick is due a huge contract, then the Milwaukee Bucks could go and supplement him with additional talent. Now, if that doesn't happen, the fallback option for the Golden State Warriors is absolutely remarkable. All the Warriors have to do in this position is literally sit back, draft James Wiseman, which, by the way, fills a huge position of need for them, have him sit back, make him look really good in the Golden State Warriors offense as, I don't know, what would he be, like the 4th or 5th option at that point? Build up his stock, and just like they did with D'Angelo Russell, trade him in the middle of the season. But I think there's a chance that they don't do that. I feel like the Warriors might eventually part with one of their core players, and I think the most likely player to do that might be Draymond Green, depending on his fit with this brand new Warriors team. At the end of the day, I don't think a lineup of James Wiseman, Draymond Green, Andrew Wiggins, Klay Thompson, and Steph Curry isn't really that bad. I just don't know if it could dominate the way that the Warriors used to. Maybe I'm wrong, but maybe I am right. The only difference really, if you ask me, if you compare their 2015 to 2016 73 win starting 5 to the team that I am proposing them to have without Giannis Antetokounmpo, is you're swapping Andrew Bogut and Harrison Barnes for James Wiseman and Andrew Wiggins. And I think it's kind of unfair to make this comparison because Andrew Wiggins has averaged 20 points per game so far in the Warriors system off of 46% shooting, 34% from 3, and has had a player efficiency rating of a 17.5, which, by the way, is the highest of his career. Whereas Harrison Barnes in his final season with the Golden State Warriors wasn't nearly used as much. He was kind of an afterthought in that offense, and he averaged 12 points per game. When he was more of a focal point on the Dallas Mavericks offense, he averaged about 19 points per game. But his player efficiency rating was hovering around a 12, and when he was traded to the Mavericks, it was about a 16. What I'm trying to say is these are clear upgrades over that Golden State Warriors championship team. The only issue is, at this point, a lot of teams know what the Golden State Warriors are going to go for. Steph Curry and Klay Thompson are older. Klay Thompson's already tore his ACL. So do they really have that same fire as they did in that 73-win season? I'm not exactly sure. I don't know. Let me know in the comment section down below, because right now they're paying Andrew Wiggins a maximum contract. And they wouldn't have to pay James Wiseman that much at all. If you get rid of Andrew Wiggins or you trade him somewhere else, you could potentially even sign Giannis Antetokounmpo outright. Say if Giannis wants to run it back this next year, which is very likely, by the way. I could see it happening. I don't see Giannis as the type of person to stamp his feet and say, I demand a trade from Milwaukee. I do see him potentially leaving in a way that Kawhi Leonard left, just getting up and leaving respectfully, but I don't see him leaving Milwaukee by the way Anthony Davis left New Orleans, because I don't think his situation in Milwaukee is nearly as dire as Anthony Davis's situation was in New Orleans. So with that being said, I think the scary thing that could happen here, if the Warriors want to actually try it, is they'd have to be okay with giving up a potential year, maybe even Steph Curry and Klay Thompson's final year of their prime, waiting a whole year, waiting to see if Giannis hits the market, signing him outright, and keeping their number 2 overall pick, using that number 2 overall pick on James Wiseman. And you have this terrifying lineup of James Wiseman, Draymond Green, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Klay Thompson, and Steph Curry, assuming that they could get rid of Andrew Wiggins' contract. And I think at that point, the Milwaukee Bucks would agree to a sign and trade. And I think at that point, the Warriors would have so much leverage that there's no way that they'd give up on James Wiseman that quickly. I don't know. This was just my immediate thoughts after we did our live stream. Let me know what you guys think. It's a lot of fun for me to make these types of NBA draft videos. So if there are any other narratives that you want me to look into, let me know in the comment section down below. Aside from that, I'm your boy, TheFlightMike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.